All right, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the BarC.O.D.E Collective podcast. I got Liam Mistry here with me from the other side of the pond. Is that what they say?
Yeah, on the other side from London.
Yeah. From London, man. Yeah, so one of the beautiful things about having these businesses, whether it's Lifted Botanical Bar, Space Bar Wellness, is the people that just kind of stumble in, right? And every once in a while, I get to be on the other end of that counter having the conversation. And I can usually recognize when it's somebody I want to have a further conversation with, right? So that's how we met, man. That's how you came into the doors. Found out you're a strength and conditioning coach, which I'm very interested in. And, even as before we hit record, one of the things, I asked was, what's important to you? What's the message that you're trying to get across? And you said stress and reframing that and how to coach that, I guess, with your clients too, right? And bring some different awareness to it. So absolutely. Definitely part of the conversation that we want to have. So we'll dive into that, but more so, man, this is our first conversation that we can really sit down and chat. And in regards to the BarC.O.D.E Collective, man, like that's really how I like to do it, man. So many times different podcasts are so structured, trying to sell a book, trying to do something. When at the end of the day, man, I'm just out here trying to have conversations and meet people, right? And learn through those conversations, even if it's just a matter of like a shared story. I often feel alone a lot of the times in the things that I do, and that's more of my shit. But when we can sit down and have this conversation, I truly realize that we're not. There's so many similarities, and so I get a lot out of these conversations. So I really just want to say thank you for taking the time and jumping in here, man. So,
no worries, yeah, likewise, man. I fully appreciate being here, and it seemed like very much a coincidence that I just walked through the door and we ended up chatting. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go a little deeper on that, man. So, first things first, man. Tell me a little bit about yourself, man. Where you from? What's the origin story?
The origin story.
Let's hear it.
Yeah. So I'm from England. Grew up there. Born there. Grew up there. My parents emigrated over there. My dad was born in Kenya. Mum's from India. So they're very much sort of like grew up in a very much working class background. Mm-hmm. Brought me up to like focus on education and stuff like that. However, I'm not very academic.
And did your parents recognize that early on, or did you recognize that early on?
They recognized that from the moment I was born.
Yeah.
That I wasn't the same, really. I ended up kind of doing my best in school, but not really doing particularly well. But found a passion in sport.
Okay.
And that came from an accident. I wasn't very coordinated. I wasn't very sporty. But then I actually was very unhealthy and overweight when I was in high school. And then just decided to go for a run one day.
Yeah.
And then just things happened. Like I went for this run and loved it. Just 20 minutes, I think it was. And then the next day I did the same thing. And the next day. And then I just realized I had basically an epiphany, like how exercise could create such a change in your mindset and in your brain. And I just followed that passion, really.
Yeah.
I ended up going to university to study sports science and sports science and exercise science and stuff like that. And whilst there, doing a lot of coaching on the side, and then got a master's in strength and conditioning.
Nice.
Again, just doing a lot of coaching on the side with the universities that were there and the track teams and stuff like that.
Dope.
And made a career out of it.
Yeah.
But, the passion was always like a lot of people find that they're looking for something in sport. My thing was to basically try to try to escape all the stresses that come with school and family life and stuff
Gotcha.
like that. Other people also have goals, aspirations that they want to channel through sport.
Right.
And, you know, I've found a passion with trying to help those individuals achieve those goals.
Yeah. That's amazing, man. And about how old were you when you went for that run?
I was 12 years old.
Okay. And you were overweight at that time too?
Yeah, I was, you know, like when you're in school, kids will find that thing that you're not very, your weakness, and then they'll say stuff. So like, you know, bullied. And I remember actually it was a Christmas, and my uncle was like, he kind of, as a joke, as a loving joke, he made fun of like me being a little bit overweight. I think because it was so close to home, it really had an impact on my brain. I was like, you know what, something's got to happen.
I can 100% relate to that, man. Like, do you carry some of that stuff with you today?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And same for me, man. Like, I started to gain weight when I was like going into the 6th grade. So like right around that prime time, you know, like putting on these pounds. And, so I definitely relate to that. And so much of it actually shapes who I am today, you know, in those adolescent, you know, phase of starting to try to find some identity. And, you know, I was always like a really cute kid, you know, and then I started gaining weight. So like even early on, I saw what like decent looks could get you, right? So that has you act in a certain type of way. And then you gain this weight and you're like, okay, those looks aren't really there. So now you got to create this persona or this personality, right? So like I always try to overcompensate with that. Like being outgoing, being kind of the life of the party, the jokester or whatever it might be, really building this false sense of confidence, go and talk to girls and do all this, right? As a way to try to hide the fact that I was chubby. And I almost felt like nobody noticed, right? No one would talk shit to me. No one would make fun of me. But I remember one time in particular, because these are things I carried myself. I saw myself and I felt a certain type of way about myself. And I remember the one day in 8th grade. So I was probably 13, maybe. And he was a friend of mine, acquaintance or whatever it was, you know, friend. He just came and like fucking started pinching on the titties, bro. Just give me a little titty twist, right? And then like he said something, right? Something around, and like just completely lighthearted, like playing around type of scenario, right?
Yeah.
But I remember in that moment, I just felt so exposed. I felt like, I don't even know if anybody was around, but I was like, all right, cat's at the bag, man. Like people know that I'm chubby. Yeah. And, you know what I mean? Or I like to use that word chubby versus fat because that just even hurts even more, right? But that day I remember going home and I was just like was crying, you know, and like in my family, I was always like the baby, you know, crying. I'm the youngest. I would always cry and shit like that. But outside, nah, you know, I carried myself well, like where no one would really know that much about me. Right. But just crying at home when my mom got there and she was like, what's wrong? And like, that was it, man. I was like, felt so exposed and, you know, it's not where I turned to fitness or anything. I didn't do anything about it. I probably just doubled down on being harder and being more charming and, you know, just double down on the persona I needed to carry on, you know? Yeah. Yeah. So definitely has influenced like so much of who I am today. Cause now I'm trying to let go of a lot of those personas in order to try to get down to like, all right, who am I? Cause I just have been adapting to these external stressors or these external scenarios and environments and then reflecting what I needed to in order to get what I needed to get. You know what I mean? And that's draining as fuck.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's like how you've carried yourself for, you know, 20 odd years of life, right? It's hard to let go. But it's also like, it's hard to like kind of like unravel those kinds of things, but then find you. Yeah.
For sure. So definitely seeing that, man. And that's kind of what the BarC.O.D.E collective is all about. So the code within the BarC.O.D.E represents this idea of having courage to optimize and develop your essence. So trying to like recognize these things about yourself that are either not necessarily serving you and then, you know, finding the courage to work through them, you know, because it's not very easy sometimes, you know, it's very challenging and it takes courage, you know, to do that. So, so you sought out exercise as a means of like, to de-stressing a little bit. It was never really like performance related. But
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, like I went out and, you know, started getting fit, started exercising and stuff like that. And then if you do it enough times, then you're going to get good. So then got like scouted to run track for like my local team and like county level and stuff like that. And then at university competed for the team as well, like for the university. So that was a privilege. But, and, you know, in that environment, like I loved it. Having a whole group of friends and a new family that you can share experiences with and bond with over this love of physical activity, exercise. It was amazing. The exercise itself, I mean, the competition itself was never my passion.
Yeah.
And I find that to this day, like, I don't compete anymore. And I'm, you know, with life and business and stuff like that, it's hard to like really dedicate a lot of time to training. But I don't care about the competing. Whenever I find that I can train again, just feel fit and immerse myself in that environment, that's where I'm like the most happiest. So I competed to a decent level, I'd say. But the competition was never my passion. No.
Gotcha. What specifically in track was your sport?
Middle distance, so 800, 1500 meters.
Gotcha.
That half mile range.
Yeah, man. And by the time you were competing, so did you have an association of like weight loss around that same time? You started running. Did you start like losing weight and all that too?
Yeah. To you know, like along this whole journey, everything that I've done, I've found that I've, you know, experimented on myself. Like even as a coach, like if I'm trying to figure out a different training modality, I was like, okay, cool, let's try it out on my own training, see how I respond to it. So when I first started running, I noticed that I started to lose weight, but then also living in an Asian household. A lot of Indian cooking is like drenched in oil and stuff like that. So then I was like, you know,
tough to track macros with that.
At the age of 12 as well, I was just like, it doesn't seem right. So to be honest, I ended up picking up some really bad habits. I ended up having some pretty bad eating disorders as well. Like going into like I was quite anorexic, and eventually I started being a bit more bulimic as well. So I end up, you know, purging.
And that's something that doesn't get talked about often enough, you know. And again, bro, I fucking relate, man. Been there, you know. A lot of disordered eating, you know, along that path, you know, trying to figure it out. And a lot of that comes to not having the right information.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like you are just, and you don't, like, for me, because I've binged and purged, you know, and have had a lot of like body dysmorphia during this time. And it's an interesting, like right now, like probably the most comfortable I've ever been in my own like body. And, you know, I haven't been training for probably 5 or 6 years, like very actively, because I've been dealing with like a back issue and some, you know, now like more of a pinched nerve in the hip and the front. So it's like, I haven't really been getting after it. And my relationship with food is probably better than it's ever been, probably because I'm seeing this correlation to, you know, where I would just fixate on what I was eating, right? So much to the point where it's like, I'm that guy who's going hardcore paleo or keto or whatever it might be, and just talking hella shit to everybody else. That's nuts, you know. You know, I've lived that life, and it's like, felt like some foods were good, some foods were bad, some were literally going to make me just feel fatter. Like you would have this meal and you would just feel like you jiggle more afterwards, when you know that's not the case. I cognitively knew that wasn't the case, but that's how I felt. So it had probably been 10 to 15 years of kind of eating that way at some capacity, doing some weird, strict eating protocol. And I never just let myself, you know, you can call it intuitive eating, I guess, at this point, where it's like I'm intuitively eating what I want. I'm still tracking certain metrics, whether it's body fat or the scale or whatever it might be. And it's like, I'm not gaining weight. I'm probably more low-key losing weight because I'm not consuming enough. But it's like, I don't have those feelings associated with, oh, I can't have this burrito because I'm going to feel fat as fuck afterwards. You know, so it's a long-ass process, man. And even when, say, like I would binge and purge, there wasn't any like, oh, I got an eating disorder. It was just like, no, I'm going to eat everything. Like, I didn't see it as almost not even a problem or weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you? Like, were you like, oh, fuck, I probably shouldn't be doing this? Or
Yeah, definitely, like that. Imposter syndrome, right? Like you have, like I'm doing something, but it feels like my conscience is above me watching that person doing it. And I still have that to this day sometimes when I'm working and stuff like that. But like, I knew during that process, I'm like eating all this food. I'm just thinking, you shouldn't be doing this. And then an hour later, I'm in the toilet, like trying to check it off. I was like,
yeah,
you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel right. And I think like it kind of like, it sounds really crazy, but like, I'm sure that you can relate to this, is that now X amount of years later, you feel like you have generated that wisdom and the knowledge, and you've seen it from both sides at the end of the story, to be able to help other people and to educate them, because we didn't have that education, right? But it's like, yeah, I can sympathize in a way, like I can kind of tell like when someone isn't eating right, and I can sort of say from my own experiences, look, this is the way that, you probably feel right now, and don't feel bad about it. And offer them that opportunity to educate them around the right kind of ways to fuel themselves, and to feel good about it as well. Like, to say that you can have that burrito, and give yourself a break because you're working hard elsewhere to balance it, right?
Yeah, I mean, because we're all doing our best to try to get a certain outcome.
Yeah,
and when you don't fully understand that there's these different ways to get there, and then don't have the confidence to trust. First off, you don't know that they're there, and then you hear like, oh, this is an opportunity that I can do this differently, but you haven't experienced it, so you don't fully have that confidence that it's going to work for you, because we have this inherent need to think that we're uniquely different, right? No, that diet or that eating strategy isn't going to work for me because I have hormone issues or whatever it is, right? But you just haven't committed to it to see if it works. And in this, so I'm talking about like a balanced eating strategy, balanced carbs, fats, proteins, like having them all, right? You haven't committed to that to see that you're not going to gain the weight that you think by eating these carbohydrates or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So just, it takes time, and just like a competent coach to be there, right? And encourage that and really work on, all the emotional responses and habits that is integrated into this. So do you find yourself working more closely? So with your strength and conditioning stuff, do you play a role in the nutrition side as well?
Yeah. So I mean, there's reasons why there's people that have nutrition qualifications and like dietetics and stuff like that, dietary, because they're the experts. And I would always say, if you need that professional help, I know plenty of people that can help you. But, if an athlete or someone that I work with needs some advice, I would always offer my knowledge and my experiences. So whether that is tracking calories or tracking what they're eating, getting them the education about how that interferes or promotes what they're doing on the track in the field, etc., then I'll be able to easily be able to do that.
For sure. And I mean, I think kind of what you bring to the table from your past experiences is super valuable and important, and not to take anything away from like registered dietitians and whatnot, but I would much rather have somebody who's been through the thing to understand the emotional side of eating, because I feel like a lot of the times, and even just like not only the emotional side of eating, but the emotional side of like trying to perform and eat and all of that that's involved in that, and helping somebody navigate that, because honestly, it has very little to do with the food. It has to do with our feelings about the food. So yeah, I mean, I value that a lot, and from my own standpoint, like I feel like I connect and relate to, and I just feel like I work better with women, or women gravitate towards me when it comes more to like the nutrition side of things, or even how I talk about recovery or a lifestyle program around health, fitness, recovery, nutrition, and all of that. probably because I more can relate to a lot of the body dysmorphia and the messaging that women or girls receive in regards to what to eat and, you know, their view on their body. Like maybe that's only a story because they might be more willing to open up, especially when they know that, you know, I've, you know, struggled with some of those same things. And maybe it's just that men aren't talking about it more, you know, they need help too. But once they know, like, oh, fuck, you know, these guys have kind of been through that. Maybe it is everybody, but it just seems more natural of a conversation with women, I guess, at this point. Do you find that to be true for you, or?
It's a tricky one, really. I've never really, in certain sports, yes. In other sports, no. In track, not as much, I would say. I think like in track, it's just helping them to appreciate helping them to just appreciate like some simple facts around like carbohydrate for them. Like in track, everybody's afraid of carbohydrates. They think it's going to get them fat.
Yeah.
But just educate them about carbohydrates, some basic stuff.
Yeah.
But then in other sports like tennis, where I think there is a little bit more of a focus on like body image, I think it has become a little bit more of, you know, I need to be a little bit more personal about it and just sort of say, look, it doesn't matter what you look like, is because it's, you know, and a lot of the tennis athletes that I was working with were quite young. So they're going through that maturity stage. And maybe the things like body image and stuff like that are a big thing for them. It's like you're still developing, you're still growing.
Yeah.
It's tough, but you've got to just think about your performance, and then the nutrition will happen naturally.
Yeah.
Right?
That's such a hard one to navigate though. Like, anytime you have a performance related goal, like it's going to be way more motivating anyways, you know, because there's a good chance you're going to, you know, for a while get stronger at every workout for at least it could reflect with, you know, an extra 5 pounds on the bar, you know, like you could have this linear progression for a while, especially when you first start. And that's, I guess, where like it'd be nice to be able to get people to start with a performance goal. But so many people enter the fitness space with a physique goal of trying to lose weight, right? And it's like at the beginning is like the best time to have this like strength goal or this performance goal, because you can literally track that linearly for a little while. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You ain't going to drop any body fat in a while, and that's largely out of your control based on how well you're performing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're going to the gym with this idea, it's like, I want to lose 10 pounds, or I want to drop 5% body fat. It's like, that's not motivating, because that's out of your control for one thing. And in between workouts, you ain't dropping shit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. One of the things there is really important to appreciate. It's like, I still work with like general pop and people that work in corporate and stuff like that. And a lot of the time they do come to me because they want to change their body composition.
Yeah.
And obviously as a strength and conditioning coach, my philosophy is not necessarily, okay, let's drop body fat as quickly as possible. It's more about like educating them and developing a sustainable lifestyle that they can feel good, look good, perform good.
Yeah.
And one of the things that that I always outline from the beginning is exactly what you just said. Is that, look, we're going to develop a lifestyle that's going to be better for you, and you're going to feel better and more comfortable in. But it's not going to be like a 6 week, like you'll see massive differences.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, if you're going to be in the gym, then don't touch, like, let's not do too much with the nutrition to start off with, because you're changing one big thing. If you're changing too many big things, then you basically end up failing.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
If you drop your calorie count and then increase the amount of exercise that you're doing, those are two very different things that will inevitably just lead to a burnout.
Yeah.
So if you're going to start in the gym, just start in the gym.
Yeah.
Do a decent block of training, and then maybe just tweak the nutrition after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's why, I don't know if, where are you living now? England?
Yeah. So I'm In London, basically.
Yeah, in London. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if in London there's a lot of like transformation gyms or not, but there's a lot here, and they have been for probably 10, 15 years, where it's like their whole thing is about the 6 weeks challenge. So the marketing is all around that, all around lose 30 pounds in 30 days type of thing or whatever. And, they get you in, and most likely you're not really working out to begin with. So you come in and you're just getting hammered through like 4 or 5 workouts a week. They'll give you a 1,300 calorie meal plan, and people, they are getting transformations. That's why they stay in business, because they have thousands of these before and after photos. But if you did any kind of follow up on any of those clients, they've all gained that weight back.
Yeah,
so because it's not sustainable, and it's like, I just wish. I wish people would just start waking up and be more interested in human nature and how they think and their biases, and why they are in the position that they are to be, say, overweight, and why they think that they're just going to solve that problem in 30 days. Like, I just wish people woke up to the marketing side of things and just were able to. I mean, it's so hard to do, because I can think of all the things I fall victim to in marketing, too. And it's just like, I don't know. I just wish we would start thinking more long-term, more sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like the people need to wake up to that correlation between a 6-pack and health.
Yeah.
Like, it's not necessarily, they're not necessarily the same thing, right?
For sure. Absolutely. So, we talked, and even, I guess, in like the conversation of stress, is like, I want people to also realize that working out is stress, dieting is stress. All these things are stressful on the body.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of our conversation here, is getting people to realize what stress is, whether or not it should be avoided or whether or not it should be created, and just getting a better conversation around like what that actually is, so that you can be in a little bit more control of regulating it when needing to, right? So, how do you talk to your clients or your the people you work with around stress?
Yeah. How to the people, you got to educate them first, right? Because stress is very subjective to whoever it is, very individual to whoever it is. So stress to me might not be stress to someone else, but helping to appreciate that. Let's say we'll use the example of going into the gym. If you want to get stronger, you need to stress the body. You need to break down some of those muscle fibers to cause a compensatory reaction, and then get stronger. Right?
Yeah.
So you go to the gym, you do your workout, your body weakens, it recovers, and then it's stronger at the end of it.
Yeah.
The same thing happens whenever you're in work. Let's say you've got a work project, you do a 6 week, maybe the project's due in 6 weeks. It's an intense block of work to then have a product at the end that makes you more money. That's what success is, right? That's how you build a business. That's how you would build a body in the gym, etc. And just highlighting to the people that we work with that stress isn't a bad thing. Stress equals growth.
Yeah.
But it's appreciating what that stress is. So it's easier to measure it in the gym because it's pounds on the bar. It's harder to do that in work because it's very, it's qualitative. It's not something that you can immediately measure.
Yeah.
But if there was a way to measure it, then that's what I would always try to encourage with the people I work with. And like, for instance, that could be sleep quality.
Yeah.
You could have so there's certain obviously technologies like the Aura Ring or like heart rate variability and stuff like that you can measure how stressed you are on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And then you can make those correlations between other things that you're doing. So like maybe you notice that your stress is increasing because you're spending more time at work.
Yeah.
And then you're starting to make the correlations between work, more work, more stress, more work, more stress. And then understanding what the limits are, right? How far can you get up on that stress level before you burn, before you break down? And then once you know those kinds of things, then you can start to really appreciate stress as a good thing. You know what your limits are. You know maybe what are the kind of things that are sacrificed when the stress level is increased. So maybe time with family, friends, loved ones is sacrificed because that stress is getting too high. And maybe you notice that there's a correlation between increased time with loved ones and family, the stress level comes down.
Yeah.
Or other things like more sleep, better nutrition, the stress level comes down. And then you can really just master it.
Yeah.
I found that, certain things like cold water immersion. So often I'll try and get like ice bath or something like that, or meditation. It's been super, super important for me.
Yeah.
And I noticed that, whenever I invest more so in those kinds of things, when that stress level is really high,
Yeah.
I can bring it back down to a controllable level and optimize my productivity, whether that's with clients, whether that's just day to day, stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the foundation of it, like something you said, is like rewiring our relationship to stress. How are we defining stress? And, there's been some studies about that too. Is like, do you look at stress as an opportunity for growth, or do you look at stress as something that is harmful? And as soon as you can reframe that to be this opportunity to growth, the way that it manifests within your body is completely different. The fears associated with it are gone, right? And it's empowering and it's controlling, and you'll ultimately end up seeking it out when you think that you are in need of growth in a certain thing, right? Like it's it's pretty impactful and powerful, and it's like almost everything else. Like when you're open to this idea that things, like there's so many different ways to go about it, and realize that there's a lot of people out there just trying to sell you shit, right? So if you're trying to sell a stress relief thing, you're going to then talk about stress as this bad thing, and you need this external thing to solve your problem around stress.
Yeah.
And what comes of that is this relationship that stress becomes this bad thing, because everyone is talking about how you need to avoid stress, you need to blah, blah, blah. And like, I know that's even been a little bit problematic for us here at the Space Bar, because I could probably sell a lot more services if I played that game of fear, like come in here and de-stress, detox in the sauna, blah, blah, blah. But it's not what I don't want to be a part of the conversation that stress is bad, So like, that's not our messaging. We talk about come in here and learn how to regulate your nervous system.
Yeah.
And people don't even know what the fuck that means, because people, like it's just this like flywheel of marketing and being sold. And it's like, I don't really want to play that game. So it's like hard for me sometimes to get people in the door, because I'm trying to teach you ultimately how to fish, right? So that you can better deal with your shit, because at the end of the day, like stress isn't going anywhere. Like being able to avoid stress is not a reality. Like the people who live the most comfortable lives are having a baseline of stress more than people who don't have means oftentimes. So you're going to either like stress is going to find you, or you're going to create stress. Like it's just what the body does, because it's inherent within our growth. So there's no way to ever avoid it. And it sure as fuck shouldn't be the goal. Like learning how to regulate it is what it's all about, and just in the ice baths that I led this morning, like that's kind of what we were talking about. We're a lot of times with, say, ice baths, you hear like Wim Hof and ice baths kind of go hand in hand. And the Wim Hof breathing method oftentimes is very rapid breathing. You're inducing stress through that breathing, right? And you're matching the external stressor of ice and cold water with that controlled, increased sympathetic response from the breath, and you're matching those two to go, right? And I kind of look at that as like, you got this bucket of water. The water in this bucket is stress. So when you are breathing in a very fast method, you're just like dumping water out of the top. So you're still trying to, you're managing stress in a certain way. You're keeping that bucket from overflowing. You're just like digging water out, right? Digging water out. At some point, that's not sustainable. You can't continue down that road. You can do that in short bursts, and you can make that ice bath a little bit less uncomfortable, but it's not sustainable. So how I really like to lead people through the ice here is more of this idea of like, you got this bucket of water, this bucket of stress, build a bigger bucket. You can build a bigger bucket by down regulating your nervous system, learning how to find comfort in that. And that just really is just like slow breathing, you know, ultimately. And just giving people that tool. Here's a tool, dump the water, fast breathing, whatever. Here's another tool, make the bucket bigger. Like it's up to you. You know, the bigger the bucket for me is more of the long-term sustainable approach to it, because you're building more capacity to deal with some of this stress.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it really is the same conversation around food, you know, and carbohydrate and all this stuff. It's like trying to get people to think about these things in a different way.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, that's a great analogy of the breathing techniques and stuff like that. Like, education is the king of trying to help people in these environments.
Yeah.
But, I think the more message that we can get out that, you know, everyone is capable of managing their own stress is super critical.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, somehow just fool yourself, or if you don't fully believe it, and just start telling yourself that stress is good. Stress is where growth happens, and change that relationship. Like as soon as you can change that relationship, I think that's where everyone needs to start, you know, starting there. So tell me a little bit about, how'd you end up in the US right now? Like what's going on?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting story actually. So while I was, in London I was working with, the British Athletics, a lot of their sprinters and stuff like that. Worked at a big athletic centre in North London, in Tottenham.
Okay.
Called Lee Valley, and very much like a boiling pot of British talent in sprinting and athletics and track in general. And I was working with a pretty sick team, and basically I was approached by a boxer, Nike sponsored. A lot of the athletes that I worked with are also Nike sponsored, and they wanted a track coach. They wanted someone that could teach them about the conditioning side of boxing, etc. It was a positive that I also was a strength and conditioning coach, because so I could do a lot of the stuff in the gym. Yeah. And simultaneously while I was working on track, I was also working in tennis. Okay. There's a lot of rotational element to tennis, obviously, and boxing have that similarities. So I ended up working with a boxer, and she's amazing. Still work with her today, and we found ourselves in LA, because in comparison to the UK, the culture around boxing in LA is like much bigger, competition wise and all that, right? Too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So in the UK, like we might have like, I don't know, 3 or 4 appropriate partners to train with, to spar with, whereas in LA we probably got like 10, 12. Yeah. So and the weather's better. Yeah, for sure. So so it's kind of like a no-brainer, and we've got some really cool friends and support out here to come over to gyms and train with some incredible people. That's dope. So we moved here at the beginning of the year. Is it kind of open-ended as well? You guys, or how long do you guys get to be here? Yeah, so we plan to be here for at least a year. Okay. Probably go back and forth, but like to be training all of our camps would be here in LA, and we'll see how it goes really. But so what I mean, just because I mean a lot of personal trainers might be hearing this, or coaches, or strength and conditioning coaches. So absolutely. I mean that sounds like just like the perfect scenario. You know, like a lot of people get into fitness with that being the idea, right? Working with like high level athletes. Reality of it is that's either one, not really how it happens, or two, not really how the bills get paid. Yeah. You know? So now that you're say here in the US, like how does, for one, like you could either say that that's true or not. Like if for one, the glamour of working with like professional athletes, oftentimes that's not, sometimes you don't even get paid at all, right? Yeah. Like you might get paid within a purse of say a win in a fight, unless this fighter sponsored like say by Nike, and then somehow
written in there is like compensation for a strength and conditioning coach or whatever it might be. So what's your advice around that? Like, or your scenario? Like, are you able to get compensated in some of the bills paid through this partnership with this particular athlete, or do you still have to maintain online clients, over in London, or, how does that shape up for you?
Yeah, that's a really, really interesting point. I think one of the bits of advice I give to anyone that wants to get into high performance, like elite athletes and stuff like that, there's not a lot of money in it.
Right. And then most people don't understand that.
Yeah, and I'll be very transparent. There's not a lot of money in it because of the struggle it takes to get to that level, right? There's so much sacrifice for these athletes. Mm-hmm. A lot of them don't get paid that well anyway. At least I'm working with a female athlete, and female athletes notoriously just get paid like nothing compared to the males. Yeah. So yeah, you gotta kind of subsidize with other things. Again, like I'm very privileged to have the experience that I've had previously. So like I still work with some of the track athletes remotely online. Some of them back in the UK, worldwide. I've got one that I've got someone that works in is a rugby player in Sweden, in Dubai, stuff like that. So it's just getting connected, getting the word out there. I think over the past year or so, like obviously with COVID and stuff like that, my skills have been forced to go online. And that's been a big change for me, culture, because I like to be in front of someone. I like to be very hands-on with the coaching that I do. But now it's like, okay, this is how the world's changing. Yeah. And this is how I have to adapt to it. Yeah. And that's a stress. Yeah. And I'm just, you've got to take on that stress. You've got to adapt yourself, and you've got to get stronger in the long term. But
for sure.
Yeah, like I think like you'd be naive. I think I was naive to think maybe at a younger age that you can just go into performance sport and then make a living from it. But in reality, like you do as much as you can probably learn a lot from performance sport, but then ultimately, you have to find the middle ground as well. Like
I mean, and so many of these conversations are kind of the same outlook is needed. It's just like, you don't go to the gym and you want to have this performance goal, right? And sometimes I guess I envision that as like what's your goal for life? Like, are you leaning in discomfort? Are you more interested in like gaining these stories and being this old man on the deathbed, having, made it through all these different challenges, or are you solely focused on the money in the bank at end of life, right? So same thing, and with like working some of these athletes, like if you got to get clear on what your goals are, what you're chasing, right? Because the lifestyle or just like the experiences associated with working with some of these high level athletes, like if your goal is money, it's going to be tough. But if your goal is experience and be like, oh fuck, I'm in the US right now, we're doing this fight camp and whatever, like that's awesome. And that should be held to a greater standard than money, right? But it's just not the norm. Like so much of the other bullshit gets so many more stories told and glamour behind it, but it's just misleading and not really real. I almost, like you said that, just I can tell by your outlook in where it's like, the amount of struggle that this fighter had to go through and sacrifice. So many people aren't empathetic enough to understand that, and they just want theirs. So they come in and like, oh no, I'm the strength and conditioning coach. Like I want this money type of thing. Well, that's just like, there's so many other things that make this up. Right. And I almost relate that to entrepreneurship. Like everybody wants the glamour of running the thing or having this business when, and because you see these other like tech entrepreneurs that are like somehow raising all this money and scraping money from that or making all this money, but the real world entrepreneur isn't getting shit. You know what I'm saying? That's not what the motivating factor is here. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you look back, like there's so much sacrifice. And sometimes, what I would long for is like the team to come understand that, but they don't understand that. So like for me, how that manifests is like an employee that comes in here wanting like the world, when it's like, I've been fucking sacrificing just in this business alone for the past 4 years, not making, of course, not taking a damn dime.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everybody else is getting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And it's like the fact that you recognize that as you join this team is what's needed for a team. It's not that I would expect anybody to come here and work for free, but all I'm asking for is like an understanding of what reality is. Don't think that I'm just over here fucking raking in dough, because that's not what this is all about,
Yeah. I think that, that's, as I said before, like probably I was very naive in that respect. Like when I first started working with some of these elite athletes representing the country and stuff like that. At the end of the day, like everyone's got their own struggle. And as I said before, like it's not all glamorous at the top.
Yeah.
Because sometimes at the top, that's where the biggest struggles are.
Yeah, well, for sure.
So
For sure.
yeah, it's stress.
Yeah.
But you just got to realize that stress isn't a bad thing.
Yeah, not at all, man. Not at all. Do you have any like tools or software that you find beneficial with working with clients online?
Yeah, I do. I use like online software. It's called Bridge Athletics.
Okay.
So this isn't a plug or anything like that. I just found that
British Athletics or Bridge.
Bridge. It's actually like it's run by Exos.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's
familiar.
like pretty big fitness coaching sort of brand, and it makes my life a little bit easier because I just upload I do my own videos, and you know what I mean? Like some of the exercises I do are funky. So I like to do my own videos, send it out to the athletes, and it gives them an option to then just put down what they've done, like almost like a journal, reps and sets, whatever like that. And it'll plot those kinds of correlations as well. But then other things for me, just trying to be able to communicate as much as possible. So, I think if anybody's, trying to do that online coaching thing, then having an efficient method of communication is the most important. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that. Yeah. It could just be like a call on the weekend, right? Like,
for sure.
Just connecting.
So, what does like the day in the life look like for a strength and conditioning coach from London that's living right now in LA? In training camp, still trying to get the damn bills paid. What does a normal day look like for you?
Yeah, so I really enjoy my days actually. I wake up. I'm not a very early morning person, but because the
time shift and all that
shifts, I'm up like 6 a.m.
Okay.
I have some breakfast, just give myself like a little bit of time just to ground myself, and then I jump on the laptop. Chat to a couple of the clients, maybe have a phone call. I always encourage them to send like videos through, right? So I can watch videos of them doing their exercises. So I'm there doing that kind of stuff. We'll do like the boxer, we train like twice a day, 6 days a week. So we'll do a morning training session around about 10 o'clock. So we go do that, whether that's at the track or at the boxing gym. And come back. Another opportunity just to do a little bit of computer work. Another training session for the boxers, the PM one, and then after that, this is a brand new city to me, so I'll try and explore, try and find some fun stuff to do. So yeah, that's what I've been doing.
So are you guys all staying in like the same house?
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. We stayed just around the corner. It was about 10 minutes drive from here.
Yeah.
Really nice area, and kind of. The great thing about LA in comparison to, let's say, London, is that the roads and the infrastructure around it are just a lot more accessible. Yeah. It means that you can drive like across LA in a very short amount of time. Yeah. Whereas if you're in London, everybody complains about the traffic here, right? In London, it's so much worse. Yeah. Everyone's like, oh, you're going to LA. Traffic's going to be terrible. Yeah. Like, I've driven around London, and that's a lot worse because the roads. It's
the design of the city,
Yeah, so
I think it's notorious, like crazy for like a taxi driver that wants to drive a taxi in London. Like the test to do that, like you have to. I remember reading something about that, like because they're so crazy. Like the roads just like it's not a grid. No, it's just like it's crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, I do a lot of driving around here. I'm like the only person that's got the driving license.
Okay.
So I'm getting really acquainted with like how the traffic is, the roads,
Yeah.
etc. And I kind of enjoy how the roads are set up here because it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And how's that relationship with the team? Like with the fighter, with like who's all on the team?
Yeah. So it's a very intimate, very small, intimate group. The fighter, she's obviously the star.
Does that show up in the relationships too?
It's fun. It's a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
Because we boss her. We spend like, maybe 1 to 2 hours training.
Yeah.
And then I'm the boss.
Yeah.
But then the other 23 hours,
Yeah.
she's allowed to be the boss.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Sounds about right.
So yeah, it's fun. It's fun. But it's me, our boxer, and if I haven't already mentioned, her name's Ramula Ali.
Okay.
She's a great fighter. And she's fighting in LA in March.
Is she?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
dope, dude.
And then her husband as well.
Okay.
The husband's also the coach and the manager.
Okay.
So he's in comparison to me, he does so much work. Like he's up early in the morning doing a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
Because he has to manage her. She's a model as well. So there's various things that he's kind of like looking at and being able to sort of like keep a grasp of. So he coaches for one of the sessions, I coach for the other one.
Okay.
And then, it's just the three of us in the house, really.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Nice. That sounds dope, man. I'm sure it's not all pretty all the time, but
we're a family. Do you know what I mean? Like families bicker, families
Sure.
argue over certain things.
And did you know them prior to like getting hired on with them? Were you guys friends, or did that relationship kind of start when you just started, working with them? Strength conditioning stuff.
That's a good question. Yeah. Initially, I was still working with the various different teams that I was working with. So it was very much like, there's a client that I was working with. You get like an hour and a half, a couple of times a week. And then that kind of grew. And what I could offer to them increased and stuff like that. And then it very much organically became like, okay, it just makes sense that I'm here with you. Yeah. 6-7 hours a day kind of thing like that.
Yeah, bro. That's cool.
And when that happened, and it was also very strange in London, we lived like 5 minutes drive from each other. So I do a lot of injury stuff, like whether that's massage, acupuncture and all that kind of stuff. So with the boxer, that has to take a lot of
Do you travel with your needles?
Oh yeah, man.
Bro, I might need to have. I mean, that's so with this pinched nerve shit, man. Like that's something people always say. Have you done acupuncture? Nah, man, but I should, bro.
Yeah,
fucking jam some of that shit in me, dude.
Yeah, that's coming, man. Yeah, I'm coming with the needles. So I do all of that kind of stuff, and just I like to think that although I may have this bracket around me of a strength and conditioning coach, if they was to say, "Oh, Liam, we need you to take a boxing session," I'd love to. I'd love to be in that position to always say, you know what, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Jack of all trades, if you know what I mean. Like,
I'm the same way, man. I love that idea of like just seeking information, and I get it that you might not be a master of none, but I'd much rather have all these different tools in my toolkit. Honestly, I'm wired that same kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it just makes you a much more rounded person.
Yeah.
So I've obviously got like the qualifications to be able to say that I can do stuff like acupuncture or manual therapy and stuff like that. But I've been very blessed to be around people that are experts in that, and I've picked up things along that way as well.
Yeah. So in your exploring of the cities, what's like your favorite little area or restaurants?
Yeah.
All that.
So I'm a sucker for like the dump of like endorphins, serotonin, all that kind of stuff. So if I can find somewhere that has like a 6 sunset, I'll just sit there and watch the sunset.
Nice.
So like I'll just chill out and stuff like that.
Have you found some good ones here?
Anywhere, like, I mean, it's not too far away from, like the observatory and stuff like that. So I really like around there.
Yeah.
Just heading to the beach.
Yeah.
That beach, the sunset on the beach was probably one of the best sunsets I've ever seen.
Yeah, man.
So I'll just do that, something like that. Yeah.
Are you guys getting out for like regular hikes and stuff like that?
Every weekend we've tried to try and get on a hike. Yeah. You mentioned that you did like the
Yeah, so we've been leading some hikes here in the morning, and something I'm trying to work on is trying to do the things that I know I enjoy.
Yeah.
But it's just like so hard for me it runs deep, like feelings of like not necessarily deserving that of myself. So like I'll never go and just do a hike by myself.
Yeah.
Like I have to attach it to, and it's kind of a problem, but like attach it to something I'm doing business wise too.
Sure.
Like there's always something more you can do, you know, when you run a business.
Yeah.
So I want to provide that value. And if I enjoy, say, a hike, being able to offer that for others too. So like just we had a 6-week program happening over here where there's like five girls going through it, 5 women. And part of that is like building balance around like what wellness could look like, you know, and, you know, we value outdoor workouts. Like there needs to be something that you're doing outside. Why not? Right. So one of that was a morning hike, sunrise hike. So got to do that. And that's something I want to continue, you know, whether that's leading the group. What I found is like, sometimes there's some stress in that, in like leading the group. So I'm trying to just do more of that. If that means, you know, linking up with you guys for a hike, that'd be awesome. Or we coordinate that. We do one over here too.
Yeah.
Trying to find some accountability in that. And that's how I know I'll do it, if I know people are depending on me to do that, to be there. Right. Yeah. But yeah, I know it's a game changer, man. Like sunrises are amazing. You know, I'm more of a sunrise guy than a sunset. Just cause early mornings for me all the time, you know, real early. But yeah, dude, I'd love to join you guys on a hike, or, you know, coordinate one, and we do one out here too. So there's quite a few actually right here in Pasadena.
Oh, sick. Nice.
Yeah, that are really accessible. So we should definitely do that. Let's see, man. What else? What do I got to do to get this logo on her shorts, bro? What's up, man? She looking for a recovery sponsor over here? Get you guys in the ice baths and the saunas?
She wants to try out the ice bath.
I mean, I'm not Nike, but fuck, come on.
I said that I was going to come here for the jump on the podcast. She was like, "Oh, cool. Maybe we can like come over and do some of the ice." She wants to try it out. Definitely.
No, I definitely would take care of you guys, man. Would love to get her in there, and I think it is in alignment with our messaging and everything that we want to do. It's like. You can get into the ice and you get into the sauna, and you can think that act alone is going to give you some sort of benefit, which it will, you know, it'll, you know, recirculate the blood, you know, you get a little reverse blood flow and, you know, like little nutrient dense blood to the tissue and whatnot. But like the real power is in the mental resilience within the ice bath, and testing and proving to yourself some of the things that we've been talking about using the breath to downregulate, you know, like you mentioned several times, it's about education. It's about telling these clients that there's multiple ways to go about this thing, right? But the real impact and the lesson really gets received when they can actually put it to work and see that it's actually working to them, because they need to find confidence in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's what the ice bath does.
Yeah.
You know, we coach people through it. And we work, because I can give you the information, right? It's like right now I can tell you, hey, all right, when you get in the ice, your breath is going to end up in the chest. You're going to start breathing with your traps. You're going to be very short in breath. So what I want you to do is just focus on slowing down the exhale and slowing down your breath. Show control over your breath, and then, you know, you'll be able to kind of show a little control over this external stressor. I can tell you that. But that's the thing about fight or flight. Like, you get in there, you don't remember shit that I just said, right? So it's like, okay, we need to be sitting next to you, coaching you through this for a couple times, right? So then you realize, all right, I can do this. There was a significant change, but ultimately you were the one inducing that change. I was just the voice on your shoulder reminding you. And through time, you know, you get reps and sets into that. You're able to have that conversation with yourself because you've built confidence. You've done it, right? You know, so that's a game changer. I would highly recommend, you know, like, and again, I'm sure she's done ice baths. You know, so many of these athletes have done ice baths, but they're missing out on like the biggest components associated with that ice bath. Is learning that breath to like deal with it. Because we can get in there and be stressed out the entire fucking time, like but it's not going to be as beneficial as if we like slid into the parasympathetic while we're in this like stressful situation, and like seeing what the impact of that is. Yeah, definitely. We'll welcome you guys in for that, man. Anytime you guys want.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, we'll chat about that.
I'm going to tell you, I'll put together like a value. I'm going to be like, hey, this is a $30,000 value right here. Let me get that fucking logo on her shorts.
That's it, man. That's it.
Any last messages, man, you want to get out there to the people?
I think, you know, like if you can find someone that can coach you through and kind of educate you on how to manage and acknowledge your stress levels, then I think that's that's like a very big privilege at these days.
Yeah.
As life accelerates and stuff like that.
For sure.
And and I have to kind of tell myself this quite a lot, but it's okay to feel stress. I think it's also very important that we acknowledge what kind of helps to regulate those things. So don't kind of think that we're all alone. Talk to people, find out what helps them.
Yeah.
And try different things out. And it's not like airy fairy hoo ha kind of stuff. It works, man. It works.
For sure. In a major podcast that I would recommend anyone to listen to would be the Huberman Lab. Where he's talking a lot about stress and just ultimately our way to regulate so many different aspects of ourselves, right? Yeah. So seek out that. You can really do a lot more redesigning of how your mind works than we have thought in the past, right? And so much science is now coming to support things like pranayama or qigong or any of these things that have been around thousands of years that have been used in a way to regulate people's nervous system and ultimately give them this like vitality and life force, which sounds woo woo, but there's so much of it now, science that supports these things, right? And it's pretty wild and it's amazing. And I get to witness it firsthand, like on the daily basis, see how these things show up for people in the ice bath. And, it's very exciting to be able to get a look behind the curtain of like human nature, and what we all do to try to self-soothe ourselves, because we're going to do it regardless, right? Any way you slice it, we're going to be trying to figure out ways to self-soothe, whether that's through seeking food for comfort, seeking a couple of bottles of wine for comfort, or whatever it is. Like we're going to be doing this regardless.
Yeah.
Are you going to constantly be relied on this external regulator of stimulation or trying to calm yourself down, or are you going to tap into your inherent ability to do that yourself, right? So that's up to the people to decide. But at the end of the day, I'd highly recommend looking inward to solve a lot of your problems.
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
So, well, man, I really appreciate the time, dude.
Thank you. Thanks for having
What's on the agenda the rest of the day?
Meeting up with a friend around the corner, and I'm probably gonna explore somewhere in LA after that.
Bro, well, I feel like I haven't gotten out too much to explore myself, man. I'm kind of stuck in some of these businesses, so shoot me a text. Any gems you're finding out there, man? Yeah, for sure. Well,
trying to find a sick like sunrise spot. Hike up there together.
There, right over here actually. There's a good one. Yeah. So it's called Echo Mountain. So it's just right up the end of Lake. Just a couple of switchbacks back and forth, but I mean you can get up it in under an hour, and then it's just like pretty amazing. Like there used to be a resort up there, so it's like up the top of the mountain. So you'll see all this like foundation, like train tracks and stuff. So it's kind of cool to get up there and see that, and just like imagine like whatever it was 50, 60 years ago, that like it was just thriving of like a resort up there, which is kind of a trip, But yeah, man, we should do that for sure. So this week is like almost feels like a new chapter for me.
Yeah.
So I want to try to dial a lot of that in, get structured around that. Just sold this property down in Orange County, so that I've been driving all around like back and forth. So it's like I've been kind of at the mercy of all the shit that I've been going through to try to fit my stuff in, but got a little window of opportunity to try to implement some new things. So yeah, man, would love that. So. All right, dude. Well, let's wrap this up. Let's get through the day. Thanks everyone for listening. As always, man, you can go check this out on YouTube or on Spotify. Even in the emails, I'm going to drop this one in the email because you're preaching exactly what, we talk about here at the Space Bar. And I appreciate you sharing those messages, because we need more of those to combat a lot of the bullshit out there from these gurus that are trying to sell you some snake oil. So. Well, where can people find you on Instagram or, even the fighter, if people are here in LA and want to catch that fight?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ramula, she's fighting on DAZN Boxing. Okay. It's going to be on the 19th of March here in LA. I think it's going to be at the USC.
Okay.
But it's going to be on DAZN Boxing, which is a big broadcasting for boxing. Her name's Ramula Ali. You can easily find her on Instagram. She's on there. Myself, my name is Liam Mistry. You can find me on Instagram as well. My handle is the Mistry Method. Because I do weird stuff on, like trying to find these different training modalities and stuff like that. So the Mistry Method is me.
Dope.
And connect, reach out, and then if there's something I can help you with, then for sure.
That's dope, man. Well, I appreciate it. I feel like there was something I scheduled for the 19th of March, but if not, I'm gonna be there, man. I'd love to get out there and experience the city a little bit more. Show some support.
Yeah, we'll try to get you some tickets, man.
Yeah, I'll support. For sure. But I appreciate that, man. And until next time, y'all, you guys have a beautiful day. Get out there, stress yourself a little bit. You'll be better for it. All right, y'all, we out.